evening, everybody, and how are we all doing today? It is Sunday, the 10th of August, 2025. It is a Sunday. It is 6 o'clock. I'm just going to bring this screen over here. And it is time, of course, for our Sunday night live stream. I'm going to say we've been very lucky with the weather this week. We've had some really, really lovely weather. Which has really boosted our gardening. I've been out there doing lots of things in the garden this week, but we'll get into that in just a moment. Today, we're going to be talking about, what are we talking about? Our plans for 2026. Have you started making your plans for 2026? Put your hands up if you have started thinking about what you're going to be doing in 2026 in your garden or in your allotment. In the meantime, let's find out who we've got in the audience. We've got Adrian there saying, hello, Richard and all. Good evening to you. We have got Turbo Stream saying, good evening, Veg Podcasters. Good evening to you. A Lottie Chef, aka Nathan, is saying, good evening, all. Good evening to you. We have got Kate saying, good evening, Veg Army. Good evening to you. Chili Kate, hi, everyone. Good evening to you. Hope you are well. We've got Anna Jones. Good evening, gardeners. Good evening to you. That's all we've got at the moment. But if anybody wants to say anything, add anything, I'm sure there will be more comments coming in. Upler Plots has just came in waving hello. Or is that putting his hand up to say he's got plans for 2026? We've got Jenny is there saying hello, everyone. Graham Arnold, evening, everyone. Hope you are all well. Indeed, I hope you are well too. So let's get into it. Please do keep saying your comments as you come along. But one of the questions I said, have you started making plans for 2026? I know I have. And for me, the reason I'm always making plans, I'm always trying to think 10 steps ahead when it comes to gardening, because I believe gardening is all about thinking ahead, always about what it's going to look like, what it's going to produce in the future. And I mean that because when you take a seed and you sow that seed, and you're not sowing a seed for a seed, you're sowing a seed for it to become that big, beautiful plant that you want it to be. And that's what I say when it's all about thinking ahead. It's all about planning ahead when it comes to gardening. Over on Instagram, Beth CF has joined. Welcome along. Lovely to see you. Turbo Stream has put his hand up. Digwell says, just been watering raised beds. I say watering, I'm just there dripping sweat over everything. I know how you feel. It is warm again today. I was out in the potting shed dripping sweat as well. Beddoes, hi all, back from Blackpool and almost recovered from a ride on the 100-year-old Big Dipper. Oh, how lovely, how lovely. I can't do those things myself, but lovely, lovely. Upper Plot says, big plans. What are your big plans for 2026? And of course, that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Now, I have started putting my plans into motion. I always feel that the beginning of the gardening year begins in September, just like the school year. And the reason I say September is because that's when we start planting some of our crops for next year. This could be things like our garlic, our overwintered onions, things like spring cabbages, etc. That's all going in throughout September. And I like to think ahead. I like to try and plan ahead because I want to do things like green manures or adding compost or things like that. So thinking ahead, planning ahead is something that we need to do in order to prepare the ground for the plants that we may have. Now, one of the things I'm focusing a lot on next year here in the kitchen garden. Now, in the past, what I've always done with my sort of layout and crop rotation is I've had rows of vegetables and each bed dedicated to, say, certain crops. So garlic and onion would go in one bed. We might have in another bed our root beds, our potatoes, our carrots, etc. I don't want to do that next year. I want to have a more of a mixed planting setup. So we might have a squash mixed in with strawberries or something else, just to mix things up so that we have more different plants in one bed. That's my main focus for 2026, is going to be focusing more on having a mixed, mixed plant, mixed crops setup. On Instagram, Beth CF says hello and is waving. Nice to be here. Thank you very much. Have you got any plans for 2026? Turbo Stream says, I nearly made a big plan on Saturday when I walked up the plot and found my brassicas dug up. The plan at that point was to pop. Oh, it's gone. Was to pop the key through the chairman's letterbox and walk away from it. I hope you don't. I really hope you don't do that. I know it's frustrating when these sort of things happen, but I hope it doesn't put you off. This is unfortunately the bad side of allotments, isn't it? We do get vandals. We do get things happen that we don't want, and we just have to take sometimes the rough with the smooth. Up the plot says, my third year on the plot just started, so time for consolidation. Taking over the second half of the plot, which is literally all brambles. The more established half will be transitioned to polyculture. Interesting. Digra says, my plans all depend on what seeds I can save, so it's a bit early yet. Digra says polyculture. That's the word I was looking for when I was talking about my sort of plan to be more mixed planting, more polyculture. That is the word I was looking for. But saving seeds, actually, that is something we are also going to be thinking about a bit more, isn't it? Saving seeds. Benno says, only thing I'm unsure about next year is wondering how much sun rhubarb needs. That will determine where other things go. So rhubarb in its natural form is a shade-loving plant. That's why it's got big leaves, a broad-leafed plant. It does cope in the shade, but it loves being in full sun. It absolutely thrives in full sun, but it can tolerate shade. So wherever you plant it, it will be fine. It's pretty unfussy. Toby Stream says, so obviously I didn't talk about the key to his allotment, and now need to reduce my growing space and grow the brassicas in a kind of reset. I've not been enjoying my allotment recently, so I've had to plan things differently. You are gonna have a successful year next year. I'm going to say that next year is going to be different. Jenny says, I'm going to have a weekly plan, sowing structures, purchases, etc. I can then plan around the weather and life. Hopefully less stress and pressure on myself. I think it's good to have a weekly plan. I often sit down on my computer on a Sunday night and plan what I want to do for the week. Sowing seeds, I have a list of seeds that I sow every week. I have a list of basically everything you can imagine. Jobs I want to tackle, to-do lists, jobs that need tackling, plants I want potting up, plants I want pricking out. I write those lists out and try and get around that. So having that weekly plan really, I think, does help. Just sitting down on a Sunday night after the show, of course, and going through that really, really helps. Direct Stream says, I've been drawing up a plan for 3 by 1 meter beds in my main growing area and extending the grass paths. If it works, it works. Whatever makes it more manageable for you is where we've got to think. Chili Cake says, my plan is to finally get the last 2 beds and finally declare the allotment fully productive. I like that idea of that. When you say fully productive, are you talking about you're using every bit of space to grow your own food? Is that what you're talking about by being fully productive? I think that's a great plan. I really do think that's a great plan. And I think it's something that we're all striving for. One of the things I say when it comes to being fully productive is, again, it's all about thinking ahead and saying to ourselves, well, we need plants. When we harvest certain crops, we need plants to go in that place, in that space, to fill that void. And this is something I've talked a lot about, and I'm using a lot of fillers at the moment: chard, lettuce, just plants that I can fill in spaces when they become available. I also plan to stick to the plan, as Jenny says. I stick to the plan. Turbo Stream says, the weather hasn't helped. The soil is like dust now, and the no-dig bits are like concrete under the dry dust on top. You'll get there. You will get there. We're all going through it. One of the things that I have found very, very successful this year is using straw as a mulch. Um, that really has worked well on my allotment. It doesn't look attractive, don't get me wrong, but it's reduced the amount of weeds and it's reduced the amount of water loss and therefore produced better plants. So I have found, and I use straw because it's cheap. I can buy a bale of straw for about £3.50 from my local farm supply, and I would just use that in place of compost. Compost, of course, is best if you can afford it, if you can get hold of it. The whihc project off grid. We broadcasted on the 3/4 acre one year, did epic. Year 2 was sad. This year 3 and a small garden 2026. I saw the overhaul neighbour is lending a hand and his tractor to reshape and add in a pond. Yeah, last year and this year have been hard years. We've all said that. They've been hard years because last year was very, very wet. This year has been very, very dry. It's just a case of trying to work with it and hope for the best. Next year could be better. But at the same time, I find myself now sort of thinking, well, let's plan. Let's say, what can we do if we get a dry year next year, like this year? Well, that's simple. We just need to store more rainwater. What if we get a wet year like last year? Well, then we perhaps need to use more structures to try and keep the rain off our plants and try and tackle slugs and snails a bit better. It's all things that we learn from experience. Over on Instagram, Growing Beside the Atlantic has joined. Kate says, my plants is very flexible. I have my structures and seeds I'm sowing. I think that's my plans. Sorry. My plans are very flexible. I have my structures and seeds I'm sowing, but it very much depends on my health. And I need to be flexible. I get frustrated when I can't do something. But this is one of the things I do want to say is that I have lots and lots of plans. Some plans go to plan, some plans don't happen. And it's often because of things getting in the way. Now, we all have our own individual things that get in the way. It could be your health. In my case, it's often just finding the time. I'm an incredibly busy person, but we take the rough with the smooth and we work. This is why I think one of the things I've always said, we all garden differently. Everybody here has different ways of gardening, and it's what works for you. There's no right or wrong. It's what works for you. Chili Kate says, I mean, everything finished. I do, of course, have space for the shed and my little seating area. Fantastic, of course. So, yeah, Chili Kate, I said earlier what she meant by putting her allotment into full production, being everything's finished. Absolutely. Turbo Extreme says, also, we'll concentrate on the basic crops I like and not sow things I don't like. I think that's a good thing. I do think that's a good thing, too. The whihc project off grid. We are moving from gardening to farming in 2026. That's impressive, actually. The new 70,000 litre gallon pond is under construction and plans for a RPE liner. Having a good source of water to irrigate gives us a chance to do much better. I'm noticing, funny enough, a lot more people are going from being the sort of home gardener, shall we say. They've got hold of some good land and they're turning more into market gardener / farming. I think there is now a change in the air where people are wanting locally produced, good, fresh food. And I say that because more and more people are getting into market gardening. More and more people are really into growing their own food or trying to grow their own food. So I think there is a market for it. And I do think growing your own food is the best way to. Terry String, I'm thinking of letting my plot neighbour take over part of my plot next year to have, so I have too much land for one person. Yeah, whatever works. It's whatever works for you. If you feel you've got too much land for one person, you've got to make adjustments. It's rather warm, so I'll probably be drinking quite a bit throughout tonight. Only orange juice tonight. Anyway, so what I'm getting from what you're saying is you've got everybody out there has some very rough plans of what they're going to be doing in 2026. the emphasis seems to be everyone out there is saying that they've got this, the main project, the main overriding ethos. For me, polyculture is a big thing that I'm going to be doing in the kitchen garden, and mulching on the allotment more is working for me. Now, in terms of planning where we're going to plant our plants, has anybody started planning their plants? I have to say, when we came up with this subject last week, I did feel it was a little bit early to start talking about this, but I've given it some thought, and it seems like a good time to say my garlic is going in soon, and it's all about thinking ahead. Crop rotation wise, my allotment, I do have a crop rotation, so I'm going to sneeze. So the crop rotation plans have to go into place. But the way I've built my allotment, the way I've thought about crop rotation on the allotment is so that when crops come out, I can then plant them out. So, for example, my first early potatoes have been planted up with winter cabbage. And the second early will be our spring cabbages, our cauliflowers, and the main crops, so on. Where the potatoes are going to go next year was where my beans and peas were this year, which have failed. They've been pretty bad this year. So those beds are going to need green manures going into them to boost them for next year, and so on. That's why I do crop rotation on the allotment, not so much in the traditional sense of crop rotation, but in the sense that it helps me fill spaces as they become empty and maximize the amount of produce that I have. Over on Instagram, Beth says, next year I want to be smart about what I grow. So food that is expensive at the supermarket, fruit, asparagus, etc. I've got to say it's been a good year for fruit, but being smart about what you grow is definitely a good thing as well. One of the examples I've always been given is that a bag of carrots you can buy for 29p from a supermarket. So why grow your own carrots? Well, they are cheap. It's much better to grow something like asparagus, which is a lot more expensive, depending on if you like asparagus, of course. This again, I have a lot of land, so I try and grow everything we could ever need. The whihc project off grid says, knowing your soil, we thought we had clay loam, hard compacted, super rocky, but this wasn't true. As we dig down, we see sandy loam clay. I have to get a soil test done before we address any deficiencies. I've just ordered, funny enough, a soil test kit as well, because I want to see what my soil's lacking in. So again, I'm with you on that. He goes on to say, once the off-grid 3/4 acre was cleaned off tree, we let Mother Nature take back the bare ground. I have minimal equipment. Year 3, we have 1 inch of rich organic necro mass. The weeds love it. Yeah, totally. Toby Strew says, more direct sowing and probably grow a few things at home in containers. I could grow my French beans at home, for example. I'd like to see that, Turbo. Now your garden has opened up a bit, I'd like to see you growing more at home. Digwell says, no, pure polyculture for me, or whatever I have goes in wherever I have space. Again, that is kind of what I want to do more of. Whatever I have goes in whatever space I have. As I said, my crop rotation on the allotment does work around the way, as I said, early potatoes come out, I want something to go in its place. So it's generally leeks or cow brassicas or the winter crops, really. And that's why I have that sort of crop rotation in place. But again, I've got plenty of space, so I can dedicate an entire bed to growing a garlic, for example. Pure polyculture is definitely something I'm heading more to, though. Jenny says, I have plant varieties lists. I am trying to be sensible, as I will only be growing at home. Gave the allotment up. No crop rotation. If there is a hole, stick something in. Yeah, good. And upland plots. I also want to be self-sufficient in compost, so we'll be growing compost crops. Again, I'm another big lover of growing compost crops. Green manures have been a real big benefit for me to grow in our own compost, trying to produce our own compost. So I grow a lot of green manures, as I've said time and time again. I don't want bare soil. I want green manures to fill the gaps where bare soil would be, so that there's always something growing in the soil, always roots holding it together, and what have you. And green manures are a great thing for that. And when we cut them down, we can then use that for composting. That and straw. Another big reason to be using straw. The straw will degrade down, but using it as a mulch, when we pull back that mulch or whatever we have, we can use that for compost as well. Toby Stream says the raspberries will be transferred to my home garden this winter too. I think I will not grow brassicas again, as I don't really eat them anyway. Whatever works for you. It is very important to only grow what you eat. This is one of the complaints. I've known people who would grow lots and lots of beans, but never ate them. Never ate them. So again, growing what you eat is very, very important. Jenny says I mix everything up, flowers, veg, trees, etc. So all grow close, supporting each other. No rows, no formality. Interesting, isn't it? Interesting, because I think when we think of vegetable gardens and neat, tidy vegetable gardens, the rows, or certainly in my brain, rows of vegetables are something that jumps into my mind's eye. But I am now gradually moving away from that, as I've said. But yeah, rows of carrots, beans, etc., etc. Why do we grow? Why is the traditional way of growing vegetables in rows? I wonder why. Wonder why that is. I've got my suspicions, but I'm going to throw that out there to you. And it says the only plan I've been making is to grow everything I've grown this year again. Having a really successful year so far. I don't do crop rotation at home either. Cool. I know you've had a really successful year, and it's been, I think, quite a few people have had successful years. Fruit this year, for me, fruit has been phenomenal. Soft fruit and the proper apples and things have been really, really phenomenal. And really early this year too. Robin's here, says good evening. Got here at last. Did you get lost on the way in? Hey, Idaho, hello. Oh, Idaho is also there. Hello, Richard. Sorry, I'm late. Not a problem. What have we got? Anna Jones saying hello. What have we got? Project off grid in Wickershire. Food security for winter is critical. We struggle to get by. I'm against eating canned everything, rice and ramen. More winter squash, potatoes, garlic, yams, onions, and carrots. Well, actually, yeah. This is actually something I have been thinking a bit more about. I was just having a conversation with Amanda, funnily enough, and we were talking about apparently the price of potatoes in the supermarket is rocketing. I'm not surprised because it has been a dry year. Potatoes do love lots of water. But we do need to, we were talking, because I've got loads of first early potatoes that we still haven't pot to anything. I harvested we've still got the second earlies and the main crops, and we were saying storage of these, so we might turn some of our potatoes into potato dishes that can go in a freezer. I'm trying to think of what did I cook last week? Bombay potatoes, for example. They can go in a freezer until we need them. But also looking at winter or ways of storing our vegetables as we go into the winter months as well. Winter squashes, our main crop potatoes, our onions, and what can we do? What can we make to make our storage, and not relying on the freezer so much, going more for natural storage. Upler Plots is going to do more perennials. I do like good perennials. So with you on that, I want to actually do some more what do I call them? More edible flowers too. That's something high on my list, and companion planting as well, which I do anyway, but I want to do more of it. Nasturtiums have been a real eye opener this year. Restart my YouTube channel. Excellent. Kate says I'm working on my compost in the Great Johanna bin. it's the biggest expense. I've always said that compost, buying in compost, is the biggest expense. So what you can do to produce your own compost is a must. A bigger compost bin, perhaps. I'm a big fan of hot bin compost now, because we produced quite a bit of compost in our hot bin that we've used this week. So yeah, big fan of that. Big fan of that. And definitely producing more compost. Turbo Extreme says the grass mulch was a failure to encourage the couch grass, and I took my eye off the hoeing, so I spent a week weeding. Yeah, if you're seeding it, seed from grass can be pretty bad. Jenny says, I will be growing green manures in my 2 raised beds. The gun gets too wet and slippery in the winter, and I fall over without any help from slippery ground. Microgreens over winter, and to be some cabbage chard, etc., that can look after itself. Microgreens, good one. Microgreens, actually, we haven't really spoken much about microgreens, but there's something I do grow a lot of. There we go. Kate says, I'll follow you up the plots. I think they're going to get quite a few followers tonight. I will follow you when I finish as well, if I'm not already following you. Chili Kate, Rose will make weeding with a hoe easier, but I don't like it. That's what I was thinking. I think the reason that traditionally rows were used was because it makes it easier for weeding with a hoe, makes it easier for harvesting, makes it easier for access. But does it look good? Is it really what we want to do? I don't know. Off grid, as production increases, learning food storage skills are something to consider. Root cellar, canning, blanch freezing, and dehydration comes to mind. Yeah. We do need to focus more on some of the skills of food storage a bit more, I do think, as well. Toby Stream says, I do like straight rows. It has to be said. Again, I'm with you. I do like straight rows, but I'm not a straight row person. I'm learning. As I said, as we've said, there's no right or wrong way when it comes to gardening. We all do things differently. And I'm leaning more to polyculture. Not so much on the allotment. I think on the allotment, it's still going to be the straight rows for the time being anyway. But here at home, polyculture is definitely a thing we want to do. Jenny says, I love companion planting. Absolutely. It's definitely something we've spoken about, companion planting, a lot on this show, haven't we? And it's something that we've spoken a lot, and there's a lot of benefits to it. And some of our favorites would be things like growing dill and chives and nasturtiums alongside certain plants to act as the companions. And that's, again, something I really want to focus a lot more on with doing polyculture, a bit more of a companion going on. And funny enough, I was round somebody's house earlier today, and they gave me this plant. I can't remember what it was called, but they've discovered it deters moth. And they're planning and they're trialing it in some, I don't know if I should say this, box trees to see if it keeps away moth from that. So interesting. I can't remember what the plant was called now, but I'll think of it one day. Kate says, one goal I do have is to be able to grow enough from seed to do a local stall in the village markets and make enough each year to buy my following year's seeds. Do it, Kate. Do it, Kate. I've sold quite a few plants at car boots this year, and I was amazed how quickly they sold. If you price them right, and I'm using that sort of income to kickstart my plant nursery business. Now I've got the shed, it's much easier to get it up and working. Turbo Extreme says, I'm going to replace 2 of the red currant bushes with more blackberries instead. I had a glut of red currants this year. I do love red currants. That is an awesome goal. What have we got? The ugly garden. Don't forget seed flowers. It's pretty and the pollinators love it. Great to sit outside, swat the biting bugs and gaze over your hard work. Absolutely. It's, one of the things that we do forget when it comes to growing your own, we sometimes need somewhere to sit and look at what we're doing. The seat is probably the most important underrated tool of the garden. Linus, I plan to buy another freezer and generally get better at storing what I've grown. That's a good one. Something that we discussed earlier. Better at storing what we've grown. Yeah. More microgreens instead of brassicas next year, says Talabay Stream. Do it, do it, do it. What we got? So yeah, I sowed a container of lettuce today in an effort to grow more salads at home. Richard, is you're going back to normal now? No, it's still not back to normal, but the concrete got poured on Thursday. I should explain. I've had over the last few weeks. It started with just my driveway being replaced. We're getting resin. A resin driveway, basically. I went for resin because it's porous. It allows water through, which is quite important for obvious reasons. But no, they dug up the driveway. We discovered we had, but drains were knackered, so it ended up our path was dug up, replaced our drains, and we've got new drains. The path is laid in concrete now, and then the resin goes down on Thursday. So next week, we should be able to start putting it back to normal. So we're nearly there. We are nearly there. It feels a bit more positive. I've been out in the garden today because it just feels a bit more positive to be able to get out there and enjoy it. Dill is the best ever companion plant. There are not many things it should not be by. There you go. There you go. We've spoken about dill before. It's a good one. It is a good one. Rob says the out-of-date seeds I sowed about a week ago still has to germinate. That's one of the risks with out-of-date. It may work, it may not. I mean, even if they're in date, we still could have a problem too. Jenny says now is a great time to sow perennials, hardy annuals in a couple of weeks. I want to be only annual sowing in spring. There we go. So again, thinking ahead, sowing these crops now to get ahead. As you know, I do sow lots and lots of seeds each month, and we're looking at every day pretty much I sow a seed. So I guess we need to put a list together of what seeds we should be sowing at this time of year. That might be something we go through soon. It's easy to grow a few things at home going forward, I think. Indeed. Off-grid says the results from improper watering, dry soil stops the nitrogen microbes, but that feeds your soil in a symbiotic relation. Needs moisture in the ground, the plants die. The ground is dry, the plants die. Yeah. Digger says, I have a freezer just for my harvest veg and batch cocoa. Yeah, we've got two. And we basically, two freezers out in our garage. We basically, anything that we harvest that we got not going to use, we try and freeze excess of that. But anything we are going to use, or anything we tend to make large meals because it's just the two of us, and most recipes and stuff come in recipes for four. And I'm trying to lose weight again. I know I keep saying it. What we want to do is if we make a large batch of something up, pasta sauce for example, we'll freeze it in our freezer so that we've got it for when we need it. Upper plots. I forgot one big goal. No new plastic. Ooh, that's an interesting goal. Has anybody actually got any goals for 2026 yet? Has anybody thought about their goals for next year? I want to reduce the amount of plastic in my plots, so anything new I buy will be plastic free. Good luck, because it's incredibly hard to not buy plastic these days. Compost and mulch as your gardens are artillery. No more of this. No need to buy anything when you can make your own. Save that cash. If only it was that easy to make enough compost. I say that because you need a lot of material to make a lot of compost, unless you've got animals or something. You can use them for making compost. I'm doing the same thing. Instead of throw away plastic, I'm reusing old plastic until it's worn out and not buying more. Wow. Talking of old plastic and things like that, this seems like a good opportunity to go to the mission that was set a couple of weeks ago that we finally got done. Okay, so this mission has been hanging around for a couple of weeks now, and I have to go through my plug plants and do a bit of an inventory. Now, some are actually in use, so I haven't got all of them here, but as you can see, this one got a bit of damage too, but we can still use it, so I'm not too fussed. I've got quite a few more. Some are broken, some are still in good condition, so we'll keep them. I mean, that one's damaged, but we've still got quite a few that are still usable. That one's in good condition, and that one is in good condition, so we'll keep them going a little bit longer. I keep them in this now underneath here just for convenience and make my life easy. Right, is that mission accomplished or mission failed? Indeed, is that mission accomplished or mission failed? Let us know. But yeah, the point about that is I'm reusing those plug plant trainers. I've been using them for years and years and years, and I will keep using them until they're completely obliterated, until they literally fall apart. So yeah, coming back to talking about plastic, until it's worn out, I will still keep going as long as I can. Same as clothes. If anybody remembers some of the clothes I've worn on videos that are literally falling apart, yeah, I refuse to throw them away. Yes, to do better than the last 2 years is a goal. Yeah, I'm with you on that. We want to do better. Jenny says, I would like to grow lots of beans for drying, but not a lot of room, so we'll have to think of where I can squeeze them in. Good one. Lots of beans. That's a good goal. My soil is so dry I had to dig a section just to plant some leeks this week. It's 4 watering cans to make it plantable. I am only watering my crops at the moment. Yeah. Lynn says, good idea to have one freezer just for veg. I've grown and make sure things are labeled too. For me, labeling is one of those most important. Every plant gets a label. Everything in the freezer gets a label. Me and my wife, we used to have lots and lots of arguments in the past. She used to just stick things in the freezer without a label, and I would pull it out. We wouldn't know what it was, and it would be something like, well, is it shepherd's pie, for example, or is it rhubarb crumble? We never knew until we cooked it, and I wasn't happy with that. So labeling, I label everything anyway. Seed savings is a project off grid, learning your plant cycle to mature fruiting, observe, make notes, collect the seeds and share amongst your fellow gardeners. Good thing to do, actually. Seed swaps are apparent all over the UK in spring next year. And in fact, I might be doing a seed swap at Bewley next year. More on that when I know more. So just a thought, seed swapping, a good one. Not planning to do anything different in 2026 yet, says Digwell. Hopefully buy less bales, as my second year bale trial is growing well, if not brilliantly. Yeah, so straw bale gardening, as Digwell has alluded to there. He's been having a lot of success with straw bale gardening. And I'm converted as well. I tried straw bale gardening a couple of years ago. It was okay, but it wasn't great. So I tried again this year. I realized the mistake I made was not using the correct, not getting the bales conditioned enough in the beginning. Now I've rectified that. I have found that the straw bales on the allotment particularly are filling up some of my raised beds rather quickly, and it just grown them in straw bales, conditioned them, and then we'll wait for that straw to rot down into compost, and it fills up the beds ready to go. So straw bale gardening is a big thing. Been successful this year, going to be more of a success next year as well. Added to that, it's also been this, I've said, the straw mulch that we've used a lot on the allotment has been a big advantage as well. So a lot to be said for straw based on this year. Over on Instagram, Toby Clark 55555 has joined. Welcome along. Lovely to see you. Idaho says, yes, I'm growing pole beans for dried beans. Never grown pole beans before. It's an experiment. So I've always found this interesting that pole beans, I think, are what we might call runner beans, or you call green beans what we might call French beans. Different names. Excuse me, I'm sure someone in the audience is going to disagree with what I call them as well. So we'll see what everyone says there. I've been growing lima beans just for this reason. Balotti beans are a good one for drying as well, I have to say. I've grown balotti beans for a few years. They're really good for drying. Reuse everything, says Digwell. The Hacknick deep rainers are the worst though, because they break apart and the edges are sharp. Yeah, I'm slowly getting rid of my root trainers, I have to admit. Turbo Stream says next year's goal is not to hand my key back. Yeah. Digwell, I was at the plot yesterday, only had to water the new brassica plantings, bales and raised beds still wet. There's another advantage of using straw bales, is that the straw does stay wet. It's really, really good. Really good. If you look into it, if you are interested in it, it is a good way to garden. Jenny says we're making capillary tables. They are in use but need finishing and make them look nice for seed trays, plants, and then over wintering in use for all the 12 years. Yeah, capillary, good for seedlings, also be good for microgreens would be my thinking there as well. Some good trays to start them off. Turbo Extreme says, I need to find a way of enjoying my plot, Robin IGG. I've not enjoyed it this year. Digwell says, spot on, Richard. I've done something right. Bad soil. Soil isn't bad. You just need to put life into it. Growing plants revitalize the soil better every year. Agree. Crop rotation to prevent disease build up every few years. Funny enough, I've just been thinking a lot about soil health, and so compost, particularly to improve the condition of our soil, improve the health of our soil. For me, it's a big thing. I've always said that looking after the soil and having good quality soil leads to good quality plants, which in turn leads to good quality veg. But not necessarily just soil. Not just soil. And I say that because we've spoken quite a bit about straw bale gardening tonight, because I'm converted, as are a couple of the others. Bit of a time to set it up, a bit of time conditioning, but it's worth it. So you're not necessarily using the soil in that, but as the straw breaks down, it will feed that soil. It will look after the soil and feed that soil as well, and that'll bring the life back into the soil, the worms back into that soil, all of which makes it worth doing. I have not enjoyed my plot for the last 2 years due to health. It's a shame. But just remember, next year could be better. Some rain would help. Another mid 30 degrees C coming up. Yeah, it's going to be another warm one. When I finish talking to you, we've got to walk the dog. I've got to water the garden and then go from there. Digwell says 12 days to condition the bales. Yeah, 12 days to condition the straw bales, in the sense of watering and adding a high nitrogen plant feed. I use urea. And yeah, 12 days. What I've done in the past, which actually worked quite well, is I set the straw bales up over winter, so they got damp, or took on all that winter rain, and that conditioned them to make sure they were moist. And then we just used urea, which worked quite well, actually. It did work very, very well. And what I'm planning to do, because I think one of the mistakes we often make as gardeners is think that we only plant things in the spring. And I'm setting up in one of my other beds on the allotment. Once I've cleared away the base, I'm just going to get probably 4 straw bales, put those in there in the next few weeks, probably next month, thinking about it. And we'll use that. What will be going in there thinking about it? Oh, it'll be squashes next year, but we use that for growing winter vegetables, or spring cabbages perhaps, just so that they get used at the same time over winter. The urban gardeners with small spaces, you like to maximize your tiny grow space and up and out. Welcome to the trellis system, airflow and increased production. Yeah. Can sympathise, Rob, says stream. I have some kind of hernia going on. The stomach hurts after bending down on my plot. So actually that brings us up to a good point, something that I didn't think of earlier when Kate was saying about her health things. Perhaps something, if you are having health, I'm trying to word this correctly, where your health is reducing the amount of work that you can do, perhaps over winter. I've always felt that winter is the ideal for time to do structural work, putting up sheds, greenhouses, paths, etc., etc. Perhaps it is the ideal time over winter to do that sort of thing, which means we have to think ahead. And perhaps building raised beds if you are having trouble bending over. I mean, I've got to admit, my knees creak every time I get down on my knees and stuff. So I'm with you. I'm creaking a lot more. Right. This feels like it's a good time to go. What should we go to? I tell you what, we'll go to one we started last week. It's sort of returning to the sew along, but once a month we're going to get people. As a group, we're going to sow some seeds, and we'll keep seeing how they get on. So keep your pictures going. And last week it was chosen pak choi. Well, I made a video of me sowing pak choi, so let's watch that. Okay, so this is a bit of a new feature, although it feels in some ways that we're returning to an old feature, and that's once a month you want us to sow some seeds as a group. And this month it was chosen that we sow pak choi. Pak choi, one of my favourites, an oriental vegetable that I think we can all enjoy. One of my favourites, but our seed of the month for this month, funnily enough, on the podcast. So what I've got one of my plug plant trays here. I'm using plug plant trays to start them off. You could sow them directly in the soil, of course, but I like to do them in plug plant trays. I'll fill this up with seed sowing compost, and I'm just digging a hole in each and every little plug plant to get them started. Of course, one thing I always say when it comes to sowing seeds, before I sow seeds, I make the label and put that into place, which is this here. And then of course we need the seed. Now, pak choi is a member of the brassica family, so they are very, very small, delicate seeds. I doubt that the camera is going to pick them up. They're that small, so they don't need deep in that hole, that deep. And I'm just taking one seed into each hole and make sure that they all get growing. Really not hard at all. And I will keep these starting off inside my potting shed in my auto trays, which we'll show you in a moment when I put them in there, to get them started, and then eventually they will make their way outside. Being a member of the brassica family, they don't really like to get too hot. They only really need a little bit of heat right at the beginning of their life, just to kickstart the seed into action. Need a few more seeds. But once we get them outside, all they need is somewhere where there's plenty of moisture in the soil, moisture retentive, plenty of organic matter added to the soil in preparation would be a good thing to do to get started. And keep them weed free, and that's it really. Keep them moist and let them grow. Maybe the odd bit of chicken manure pellets or high nitrogen feed to give them a bit of a boost will go quite well as well. Anyway, that's got the seed sown and ready to get into our seed starter, which I'll show you right now. So here we go, this is the tray, and it just simply goes into place there. This keeps the water hydrated. As long as I've got water in the reservoir, we don't run out of water. And it's also got feed mixed into the water, which I find really helps get these young plants started off to a good start. Right, back to the studio. Indeed, that is our pak choi sewn. I hope some of you have sewn pak choi this week, and we've got a couple of photos. Please, if you are joining in with this little feature, a sort of communal growing, I guess you could say, then please do share how you're getting on with your pak choi sewing. I'll try and keep you updated. We will come up with another seed for September, which is 3 weeks away, believe it or not. What have we got? So Rob says, I got COPD and it's not getting any better, and rheumatoid arthritis, a few other matters. I've got to get used to life as it is. Yeah, this is what I mean. We've got to make our gardening suit ourselves. Digger says the majority of traditional plots on our site are looking quite bad, even with the water we have. The soil still needs natural rain with its ionic effect and micronutrients. Yes, it does. Plants really benefit from rainwater, and we desperately need more rainwater. Jenny says, as every autumn I will be adding habitats to our garden, bugs, snugs, log piles, etc. Got to help overwinter my little army. That's a good point, actually. We want to help overwinter those insects in our garden, in our allotments. So putting up those sort of things, bugs, hotels, and things like that to help boost those is a must. Absolutely. Gary has joined and says, sorry I'm late. Lovely. Welcome along, Gary. Hope you are well. Idaho says, I went to the doctor with my complaints, had all the lab tests down. Turns out I'm in great health. It's an accumulation of years that is creating symptoms. Yeah, I feel the same. As I say. My knees crack all the time, and I put it down to just old age is not the right word, but just getting old. Jenny says, please remember to hit the thumbs up. Yeah, please do give us a thumbs up, a like, a follow, a subscribe. And don't forget to click the notification on your way out as well. I went to the doctor and had all the tests. He just laughed out loud. Lynn says, if I manage to successfully grow pak choi, it will be a miracle. Tried so many times. Pak choi is a difficult one. Some people do struggle with it. It is, I find it best to sow around this time of year. It prefers the cooler parts of the year. If you sow it in the summer, it tends to bolt. So we really want it in the cooler parts of the year. Often again, people think of pak choi like what you would get from a supermarket, those big bulbs, which you can get. You just have to be really religious with your watering and making sure the compost never dries out. You're not failing. Cook, squash, and melon leaves get sick easy. We all suffer with blight of this weather and the seasons change. Clip off bad leaves. Try to give these plants plenty of space and lots of mulch. Who said they've got sick plants? I went to the doctor and told him that I didn't like it, how people keep ignoring me. He said, next, please. Oh, in comes the joke. I'm sure Beddoes has got one coming up. Over on Instagram, Kelby Media 2025 has joined. Welcome along. Lovely to see you. Turbo Streamers, hit us up with a mission. Yeah, if you've got a mission, a challenge for next week, don't forget to type #mission and it'll go into the draw. It's same with the cook along, which we will do the video for that in a minute. Sorry, I am LA, says Nicola. Sorry, I'm late. I think that's meant to be. Good to see you. Hope you are well, Nicola. We're talking about plans for 2026. Have you made any plans for 2026 with your garden or your allotment? Idaho says, I went back and told him I fill a pair of curtains. He told me to pull myself together. Oh, the jokes are coming in. Digwell says, quite early for pak choi for me, but I sowed some anyway. Here's the thing with pak choi. It's one of those crops that I think should be sown little and often. So perhaps every week or two, sow some more pak choi. Just, again, it's a great filler, a space filler. If you have empty spaces, just to fill them up with pak choi. One of my goals is to actually sow along with you, Richard. I will report how it goes. Yeah, we used to do the sow along, didn't we? And I stopped doing it because it felt felt like it was becoming a bit too repetitive and wasn't really getting any involvement. So we'll do it once a month and see if everybody gets involved. We can keep it going. I think that we can improve it. We can improve it. Compost, as this breaks down, do note it can feed for many years. Complete rotting and decay happens over a long period of time. Once a hot composting is finished, the mature slow could break down begins. Indeed, indeed. Plenty more where they came from. Turbo Stream says, I have the delightful task of doing a bowel cancer screening sample soon. What joy getting old is. I was about to do the cook along, but we'll hold off for that for a moment. What have we got? Slugs love beer. We talked about slugs earlier. They're some of your best drinking buddies in the garden. I love them a cup. Leave them a cup and then carry them out and be a good friend. Yeah. Kate says, my tortoise Darwin is excited at the property of pak choi. Let's hope I manage it this time. Have you sown any, Kate? Have you sown any? That's the good question. Digwell says, it's midsummer. Autumn starts in October. Yes, you're right. It is midsummer. Depending on when you feel... When do you believe, well, depending when you feel autumn starts, because I would say, some people would say September is the beginning of autumn, certainly around the spring equinox anyway. But what did I say about that? What did I say? You've lost me there. I'll get to that. Rob says he doesn't share his beer with anyone. And Idaho, my best results for brassicas are to sow in July and August. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Cover with insect netting, harvest in a couple of months. Sometimes they will overwinter. Yeah, again, most brassicas do not like heat. They prefer the cooler weather, which is why they're good for overwintering. It's why they're good for autumn planting, late spring, late summer plants, sowing, and so on. Generally speaking, they don't really like the heat of the summer, particularly cauliflowers. If I collect another ailment, I think I get a free coffee. Jenny says, my Malabar spinach has started to take off, really thick, happy stems. They seem to grow as you stand there looking. Lovely, tasty leaf. Recommended. Malabar spinach was a really popular one a few years ago. I tried growing it. I didn't have much luck with it, to be honest. It seemed to die off really quickly. But Malabar spinach was really popular a few years ago. It's like heralded as a new wonder plant. I haven't seen it for a while, actually. I have to look into that soon. Gary says, pak choi seeds pulled out the tin, job for it in the morning. Funny enough, I've written a list of all the seeds I'm going to sow this week. Pak choi is not on that list, actually. But every morning I will sow seeds. Excuse me. Like playing bingo with me. What was that? Turbo, my brassicas were dug up by foxes, I think. They were attracted by the bone meal I put in the hole. Note to self next year. Actually, funny enough, that's something. Foxes and vermin can be attracted by bone meal and fish blood and bone. So it can be a bit of a problem if you use that. And this is something I've avoided on the allotment because of that very reason. What have we got? Fox, Nicholas says, Fox got 4 of my chickens in a week. Yeah, I know how that feels because we've lost Bear. She passed away. She was 10 years old, but she's passed away now, which is very, very sad. Autumn is when the pumpkin spiced everything comes out. That's true, isn't it? That's more October, though, isn't it? Pumpkin spiced. Pumpkin spiced everything. Pumpkin spiced lattes, pumpkin spiced everything. With the years getting warmer, summer is slipping right on the calendar. It is, isn't it? And I've noticed that things are starting to look like they're turning into autumn. Leaves are just starting to look a little bit too dry. They're starting to drop. So I honestly don't think I think we're in for an early autumn this year. Darwin is the perfect name for your tortoise. Indeed, it is. Sorry to hear that, Nicola. Rob says, never tasted pumpkin or squash. You're missing out. Absolutely love pumpkin pie. We're going to have to make some pumpkin pie this year. Remind Amanda that. Our zone 7A in Tennessee is a warm state with 8 months of muggy, hot weather. Our warm weather crops do well, but cool weather crops, brassicas, suffer as we switch from hot to instant winter. Yeah, I mean, we've got very defined seasons here in the UK. So switching from really hot like you guys have to really cold, there's only so much you can do. Only so much you can do. But I think sometimes about growing to your conditions, grow to what you have in your conditions. What have we got? Orange squash is nice. Plonker. Bone meal and chicken manure. Foxes love it. Indeed, they do. Indeed, they do. I'm moving on. I don't have so much chicken manure. I haven't used chicken manure for a while. I'm going to have to get a load of chicken manure this year, I think. One of the things, actually, what I was thinking about I was thinking about this subject of planning for 2025. Here in the UK, certainly, as the kids start to go back to school, which I know is painful to think about, but when the kids go back to school, the garden centres tend to sell a lot of their old products off. And that's a good time to get in there and buy things like chicken manure pellets because they generally sell them cheap. Wilco's used to do the same as well. I miss old Wilco's. I don't think the range is quite the same. I try and remember post a photo of the spinach. Please do. I'm thinking what I might start doing is each week have a photo of the week that has been sent to me, my favourite photo of the week. And we'll start doing a bit of a competition with that. No prizes at the moment, but we'll do a bit of a competition for the favourite photo of the week. Morrison's has near me has Christmas food out, chocolate, etc. Oh no. Christmas, we haven't got through Halloween yet. Christmas, right. That's the rent of the week decided. We'll get into that in just a moment. Foxes are just another protein on the Shire. Everything goes good with a little barbecue sauce. I'm in the southern states. My neighbours will eat anything. I'd never eaten fox. I've never even thought of eating fox. I've used fish blood and bone in chicken pellets and not had a problem before. Well, yeah, all it takes is for the foxes to one day discover it and then they'll be there. Perhaps it's the dry weather that's causing them to look for other food if the worms have gone deep in the soil. Could be. Digwell, I love pumpkin spice. You have my address. I think I must have missed. He obviously has a pumpkin spice video. I'm eating pumpkin seeds as a source of magnesium. Actually, really tasty. They are really tasty. Actually, I like pumpkin seeds. Again, one of those crops that you can grow for pumpkins and you get the seeds as well. Xmas food for sale already. It's outrageous. And this is it. I think this is a good time to go to Richard's rent because I'm going to rant about this. I haven't been in a supermarket, I'll be honest with you. I hate supermarkets. I absolutely hate supermarkets. I haven't been in a garden centre either for a few weeks, so perhaps I need to make a visit there. But to have Christmas stuff out already in the beginning of August, we are 4 months away from Christmas, and Christmas stuff out already, that is just wrong. It is just wrong. I know that. I expect, yes, end of summer, the plant stuff might become less available. The stock will be replaced with things like Halloween and fireworks night. But Christmas is 4 months away. That's not on at all. Absolutely disgusting. I've got to admit, I am Mr. Bar Humbug. I do not like Christmas, so I probably am the wrong person to comment on that. But 4 months, honestly, don't buy it. I saw I say, do not buy it. Wait until December. Give it a go. I love it. I love it. Sweet and great with spices like cinnamon. I miss Wilco. Mind you, I'm still missing Woolworths. Ah, Woolworths, that takes me back. Turbo, no, not Christmas food in August. And thrice, no. I'm with you. No. Benno's wants to know where you get Easter eggs from. It does feel like that, doesn't it? If Christmas is out already, when are they going to put the Easter eggs out? September? Oh, just never. What have we got? Project Off Grid says chicken are our hardest workers here on the property. They provide eggs, meat, manure, and will till compost piles. We encourage this behaviour with a little scratch games of pellet feeds. Yeah, I'm with you again. Chickens make a vegetable garden. They are great to have. Tesco's had back to school stuff on display in the first day of the summer holidays. Poor kids. They always do though, don't they? They always do that at the beginning of the summer holidays. They put the back to school stuff out. Right, it is time now to go for the recipe. Don't forget, if you've got a recipe, hashtag cook along in the comments, same as the mission. But okay, so it should have been last week's cook along, but it's a Chinese dish using anything that I'm harvesting at the moment. I've selected courgettes, something that I'm sure we all have lots of at the moment, and I'm sure you're all bursting for ideas on how you might use up some of these courgettes. So all I've done, I've taken a courgette and I've sliced it into 4. I'm going to just sprinkle over a bit of salt, and then a little bit of massage some oil onto it, like so. And then we're going to give that a quick fry. I've added a bit of oil to the pan just to be safe as well, but just get that frying in here. I think what I'll do, just sprinkle over a little bit more salt. And we'll let that cook for a few minutes. Okay, so after a couple of minutes I just flipped these over. We've got a nice little bit of char just on the back of these. But we're going to take this cut courgette out. We'll turn the heat down a little at the same time. We're going to pop these on a plate just to one side. And what we're going to do now is make a bit of a sauce. So using the oil that's still in there, some chopped shallots. I'm told shallots are a key ingredient in Chinese cooking. We've got some minced garlic. We'll just let that cook down for a couple of minutes and try and soften them up. Not much. Because what we're going to be making here is a bit of a sauce just to go over the courgettes. So we're going to add a splash of fish sauce, if I can get the top open, that is. Some soy sauce, some seasoning. This is a Chinese spicy seasoning, if I can get it open, that is. and any other sort of herbs or anything you might want to add to boost this up as well. I'm just going to cook it down. I'm using a spatula just to stir this around a bit. It's smelling really lovely and fragrant now, I've got to say. I'll just turn that heat up a little. Not much, just a little bit of heat. There we go. It's really nice and fragrant now. So we're going to give that a couple of minutes just to cook. And then we take that and pour it over our courgettes. So here we go, there's our courgettes. I've tried to arrange them on a nice neat pan. We're just going to pour over the sauce and then leave it to marinate for a bit and see how it turns out. Doesn't look the most appealing thing, I've got to say at the moment, but we'll see what happens. We'll taste it back in the studio. Indeed, so this is what it turned out like. I don't think it's very appealing, but ultimately, what does it taste like? So, looks like it's cooked nicely. Nice and firm courgette, but or zucchini as it's also known as. Mmm. 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 That's actually really nice. Genuinely really nice. That surprised me because I knew all the ingredients in it were going to taste good, but I didn't know what it was going to taste like. And I didn't think it looked good. So in terms of presentation, really poor. In terms of taste, I'm going to give that 8.5 out of 10. That's good. I think with some noodles as well, that would really boost that nicely. Digwell says, don't forget to taste the courgette before cooking it. Cucurbit toxin is not pleasant on the gut. Yeah, if it's bitter, then there's a good chance that it is cross-pollinated and not very good for you. Excuse me. Rob says, where is the handle for your frying pan? So my frying pan and all my pans have detachable handles. So we've got a couple of handles for all our pans. It just means it's store away easier. That's where that is. I didn't get it on there. Project Off Grid says, show us your legs. Cleaning up lower 2 foot of leaves on pepper plants and tomatoes prevent disease and encourages healthy new growth. Prevent rain and watering from splashing dirt onto the lower leaves. Yeah. We all do that, I'm sure. Turbo Stream says, got that t-shirt, Digwell. He's suffered from that poisoning as well. Yeah, it's not pleasant, is it? It's not pleasant. I've not had it myself, but we'll give it I hear it's not pleasant. Cooking and gardening show all in one, the best. We try. We certainly do try. Rob says get it all in this show. Yeah, and wait until the swear words come out as well. Only had one plant with cross-pollinated seeds, dug it up after the first nibble. Absolutely. Over on Instagram, Andy Moore 121 has joined. Welcome along. Lovely to see you. The project off. If he does taxes, I'm sold. I don't do taxes. It's far too complicated for me. Turbo Stream, I had that one nibble, Digwell. That's all it took. They got dug up too quick too. Never been so else so quickly. Yeah, I've never had that problem myself, but it might happen one day. So it's good to know. Swap the fish sauce for soy and rice wine to stay vegetarian. Other options. I like it. That's nice. Courgette, if you are influenced by the French. Zucchini, if you are Italian heritage. both mean small marrow. There you go. There you go. Jenny has got a cook log. Make simple yogurt and flour flatbread with herbs mixed into odd flavour. I make them with olive herb. Works really well. Maybe add veg, etc. if you fancy. Okay. Well, it's on the list. It's on the list. Just remember it for later. Project off grid. Pushes the taxes over to Rob. Have at it. Digwell, the Fothergill group had to recall their seeds in 2022 because of it. There was something during lockdown, wasn't there, where it was bad as well, if I remember, in 2020. It was bad. It was bad. And, of course, all seeds seem to come from one place. So it's no surprise that they are all as bad as each other. But, hey, it could always happen. It can always happen to the best of us. So if anybody has a cook-along idea for next week or a mission for next week, at the moment we've got one on each. Hit it up in the comments. Hashtag mission for a challenge, a mission. Hashtag cook-along for the cook-along. I should get a bit more time next week because of the fact that we are starting to get back to normal next week. The resin should go down on Thursday, which means Saturday I can start putting everything back to normal. So it should hopefully give me a bit more time to catch up on everything. So this feels like it's a good opportunity to have a look at your photos, if I can find them. I hate StreamYard when it does this small screen stuff. Makes it hard to find everything. Let's have a look at your photos, shall we? So, good lot of photos again. We could always do with more. Please do keep posting your photos. Jenny accidentally cut her fig leaf squash a bit too far back. It's easily done because these squash plants are huge monsters. They grow and grow and grow. They're big. I wouldn't worry too much though, because I'm sure that has just coped. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. You've probably only cut a small amount of it off. If anybody hasn't heard of fig leaf, I can't remember the shark's fin melon is the other name. Big plants. Good squashes, but big plants. Digwell sown some pak choi as part of the monthly sow along pak choi. He's sown them in his veggie pod, as you can see here. Filling up the spaces that became available, as I said earlier. Chili Phil was really pleased with his UFO chilies. I've got to say, they look stunning. He's overwintered them, which is slightly different to what he's done in the past, but he didn't cut them back or anything, and they look fantastic again. Absolutely fantastic. We do enjoy some chilies here. Katie's haunted by potatoes, but she's never planted potatoes. They seem to be popping up all over her garden. So it could be, I was thinking about this, it could be the green waste in our compost that we seem to be buying in. I'm wondering if people are leaving potato skins in the green waste compost, and that's germinated in the compost. The only thing I can think of there. Stuart has been sowing some pak choi as well. Another one who's doing the sow along thing. Do we call it a sow along? I'm not sure. We'll come up with a name for it. But yeah, sow some pak choi this week if you haven't done some, and share your photos and keep us updated with how they get on. Please do keep sharing your photos. You can post them in our Facebook group, send to me via social media, or email me, richard@theveggrowerpodcast.co.uk. That's richard@theveggrowerpodcast.co.uk. We honestly do love seeing your photos. We really do. And as I said, I'd like to make a bit more of a feature of the photos for from next week, where we try and see more and have a favorite photo of the week, perhaps. Where were we? Digwell says, mine was from Save Seed, a courgette probably pollinated by a plot neighbour's decorative gourds. This is the trouble, isn't it? Squash plants, the cucurbit, are incredibly promiscuous, so they will basically mate with any other squash in there in the area, so they can very easily cross-pollinate. It's very difficult to control that unless you have a very, very good way of really controlling the pollination. I've been Lex and sending over photos, says Turbo Stream. You have. We'd love to see more. We do love to see your photos. Beto says, you used to cook on a barbecue at the allotment. Did you not pot it in the garden when they were banned? So, yeah, we did used to cook on the barbecue on the allotment. But the council banned barbecues on the allotment. It is in the garden. I just haven't really used my barbecues much at all this year, to be honest with you. It's something I want to use more. We just haven't. The sort of patio area is just not really big enough anymore. I've got too many edible plants growing on that area. So again, this is something I'm starting to sort of claw back now and try and make it more to what we want. Project Off Grid. I will only marry a woman if she can make tempura. I want battered everything. Veggies, candy bars, ice cream, you name it, I'll eat it. Wiggles the cubic zirconia in impressive fashion. Yeah, well, if you're ever in the UK, a deep fried Mars bar is absolutely delicious. Hashtag cook along late summer allotment pie from Up the Pots. Oh, interesting one. Interesting one. Jenny says it's hard to tell from her photo, but that was nearly 5 meters long, the bit that she cut off. I won't worry, it will grow back. I'm sure it will grow back. Gary says, this month we have onions to sow in the seed pack. Last year, my August sown onions outperformed Boxing Day sown onions and autumn planted sets by far. Is that everyone else's experience? I'm trying to think. Did mine do better? I would say it depends when you harvested, because my ones that were sown at Boxing Day, I haven't harvested yet. So we hold off on that. But so when you plant sets, those onions are already a year old. They've already gone for that first year. So that's why they tend to bolt so quickly and so easy and don't do as well. Seeds, a bit more work, but they do grow better, I think. Tapo Stream, like photos. Jenny, huge. Tempura spam, delicious. Now you're talking, Digwell. Tempura spam. Oh, I haven't had tempura or anything for a long time. That might be something we have to do fairly soon, when the time is right, of course. Now, I think it is. If anybody does have any last minute missions or giveaway that you want to get in, I would suggest, we won't put that up just yet. I suggest just hashtag mission with your mission in the chat. I'll give that till 25 past, and then we'll go through that and see what everybody has. Digwell says, depends on the onion type, short day or long day. Yeah, does depend. Nicholas says, maybe show photos, Ali, and people can say which they like the best, excluding their own. I'm going to do it as what I like the best, because there's not too much chat going on. There's a lot of chat going on to keep up with everything. Turbo Stream, I'm trying winter onions from seed, have 20 in cell trays. The April sown ones are doing well so far. Hopefully they won't bolt this week. You never know. Mine are nearly ready to come out. Digwell says, you did a tempura video last year. I did, didn't I? Was that with? Yes, I do remember it. It was lovely. I used sparkling water, if I'm not mistaken. I've got to do that again. Some call them Japanese and main crop. Yeah, the difference in the onions, I agree. There are differences in onions depending on what you grow. Japanese are generally for overwintering. Main crop are generally grown or spring sown, you could say. Again, that depends where you are as well. Or Turbo Stream says his onions are the Sensu ones. Also a good one for overwintering. Talking of overwintering, is anybody going to be overwintering any onions or broad beans or peas this year? Something I do tend to do, overwintered all of those. Is anybody doing that this year, or are they not bothering? Just quickly to fill in the last few minutes, I'm certainly going to be growing overwintering of all the above: onions, broad beans, peas, just because I like doing them. I think they look good on the allotment over winter to make it look like something is happening, and that sort of thing. But if anybody else has any, is anybody else overwintering anything at all? Not just what I've suggested, anything else? Upper plots make a wooden seed tray out of pallets as a mission. We've done that before, but it goes into the drawer. Project off-grid. Corn are cheeky little fellows. Speaking of being extremely promiscuous buggers, they will same year crossover, gem, dent, sweet field. Must be grown monocropped or suffer. My go at English slang. I'm trying to work out the English slang there. It might be I'm just so used to speaking English. Digwell says he's not bothering. The returns are not worth it. Interesting. Turbo Stream says, I will try broad beans over winter. I sowed too early before. Peter, my allotment, sows his in early November. So as we'll try that. Whatever works. Benno is thinking of overwintering myself somewhere sunny indeed. Right. It is time now to see which mission is going to win, because I think we are about there. We've got 2 entries. It's hit draw and it's between Turbo Stream and Up the Plots. Which will it be? We will find out. It is Up the Plots. So if I remember correctly, and please put it in the chat. Oh, I may have done that wrong. Oh no, that's right. Please put it in the chat. It is to make a seed bed out of a seed tray out of pallets. What have we got? What have we got? Idaho's laughing at Ian. Digger says corn is a pain with other plot holders pollinating mine. Interesting. Didn't know that, so I've learned something today. Nicholas says depends if the beds are filled, as I have another 9 new beds to fill, as they are only 80p 120 and 2 pallet high. Turbo Stream says I found a half a packet of winter onions, so nothing to lose. Project off grid. Oh my god, I passed the test, UK. Here I come. Woohoo! Pallet seed tray. Pallet seed tray is the project. Now, of course, we also have the recipe of the week. So let's have a look and see. Just make sure that's came up. Not in the way I like it. So let's have a look and see what we have here. 3 entries I can see. What will it be? What will it be? It's going to be Digwell, who I think what Jenny said was his answer. But I could be wrong. Remind us in the chat what it was you said. And what was it that Jenny said then as well? I can't remember. Turbo Sue says, try deep fried Mars bar in Glasgow, Project Off Grid. Honestly, deep fried Mars bar. They sell them down south as well. Well, they used to. I haven't seen them for a while, thinking about it. They used to sell them down south. And deep fried cream egg was absolutely lovely as well. But hey ho. Jenny's going to send the night over, so I should remember everything correctly. Right, guys, I think it is time now to pack up. It is 7:30. We've been going for an hour and a half. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope you have enjoyed it. I hope you've got something out of it. Please do give us a like, a follow, a subscribe, and all that jazz on your way out as well. Please do let us know if you have enjoyed the show. I don't know what we're going to talk about next week at the moment. I don't know what we're going to talk about next week. So I'm thinking we might talk about recipes. What do you think? We talk about cooking, what we can cook with what we're cooking with all the yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to talk about what we're cooking with everything we're harvesting at the moment. That's going to be next week's discussion. Right, guys, thanks so much for joining me. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've had fun. We will be back again next Sunday at 6 for that very conversation, as we do every Sunday. You take care. Speak to you again then.